Thank you very much. Right, thank you. All right, I'll do a David Frost bow. Thank you. How are you? All right? No, actually, I was starting out a little while ago, so I got one of those short socks on at the moment. Something to do with this new detergent. I'm very worried about polluting the atmosphere, especially with my socks. And it's all right. And they've shrunk on me. It's all right, it's good for the lakes, but it's bad for your socks. Always go barefoot. Have you got a virus at the moment? You know, really sniffling and got a bad chill about here. Maybe you've got your knee out. Have you broken a leg like the lady who came here? She broke a leg trying to get in. Seriously, thank you very much for joining me. I hope you're not too sick. Most people only see me when they're sick. Then they watch Marcus Welby at night. And then they get sick again. David Frost. All right? Oh, he's clenching his fists underneath the camera lens, by which I determined that he was going to spring into action and do his job of directing the studio. He directs me. You think that, you know, you get, by doing as many programs as I have with you lot, that maybe you've been successful. But then a little man like this stands underneath there with his fingers all clenched up like this. And when I say the word today, he's going to go, and then we're going to launch ourselves off to Jamaica. Would you like to go now? Yes, roll film. I just heard that, you see. I heard her say that. So shall we go to Jamaica? Here you are. We're in Jamaica. See, isn't it marvellous? You just have a wish like that and it happens. That's a dune buggy. We drove it up, and if you get the chance in Montego Bay to hire a dune buggy, you see sign Great House, that's the name of the place we went to, don't do it. That's as far as I could drive it. It's lethal. And it doesn't look fun. I thought it was, oh, part of the jet set, but look how Trina has to remove herself from it. There is a degree of elegance which I feel is somehow lost. You can tell by that. This, by the way, is how I decided that my apparel should be in Jamaica, because I'd never met that young lady before. That's Mrs. Gold, and I just brushed them all aside because there was a drink. When you arrive at this place, the first thing you're greeted with is a drink on a tray, which I think is rather civil. And this was, honestly, Trina, this is a banana daiquiri. Yeah, you can feel it, can't you, in the banana, can't you? It's just, and it's really, do you see this old place? It's an old plantation home. And it was sort of resurrected, the whole thing was sagging, and it was all mouldy. And this couple, his name is Jack Gold, and he's a Cockney from London. And he married this American lady, and they went out, and they cleared all this space away. Sorry about this, but wherever Trina goes, then I follow. Well, I felt, you know, after all the snow, to be out in the sunshine again, it makes you feel all like that, doesn't it? No, you wouldn't know. Wait, another 6 months, it'll be here. You mean it takes you 9? Right, I gave her a banana leaf, and she was very impressed. So she took this little flower which they put in there, and that meant I wasn't available. You know that his master's voice thing? I thought that's a Brognacia. Did you know that? It smells like Brill cream. This is Office. That's his name. He comes from Sine, which is a little village, where it's Sine Great House means it's the Great House of Sine. And his name is Office because he works in the office as well as being a waiter. And so this particular soup is the pepper pot soup, which is kind of interesting. I'm actually fascinated to see this myself, because this is the first time oh, doesn't it? That dishwater stuff is not. Now, we had a very much better one. That's a sort of goat stew, which is, of course, the red bean stew, which is really quite interesting, actually. You should see it. It's quite fun. I want to tell you something seriously now about this. The pepper pot soup has been going for well over 300 years, and to say the least, it's a green soup, as you might have seen on, you know, with the colour. You saw the greenness. And this is a good, rich way of getting vitamin C. And one of the green plants growing is a plant called ganja, or ganja. Now, we know this as marijuana, or you may or may not know it as marijuana. So it kind of gave the pepper pot soup a certain amount of popularity, and people used to enjoy fixing a meal for their friends. And then, unfortunately, someone came along and said to these nice, happy people who'd been using it like parsley. You know, I mean, parsley is a mild aphrodisiac. Judging by our crew here, since we started these programs, and millions of children. Now, they said, no, you mustn't eat that now. You get 18 months in jail if you eat ganja in your pepper pot soup, which you've been doing for 300 years. So fine. So in order to have some way, you know, of being happy, some people are turning on with rum, overproof rum, which is very damaging and very, very whoosh. And other people, and specifically at Sign Great House, there are 50 young people who work with the girls. And I tell you that those two people went out there with the idea of making those people happy, of helping them to be happy. And they don't run the rule over them, they don't boss them or anything else. Everybody can do their own thing. And so help me, there is no need for either the marijuana, the overproof rum, because they're happy, and it makes the hairs grow up on the back of my neck to tell you just how happy those people are. So it is possible in this world. If you do get a chance, go to Sign and see for yourself. Okay, now I'll show you how the dish is done. Come. Oh, look at this, isn't it marvellous? Look, spinners. If you found those in your fridge, you'd probably scream, wouldn't you? But they're what they call spinners, and spinners are little dumplings, and they're made out of flour and, well, flour and water, and they're pretty yuck. But if you make them with eggs as well, I'll show you how to make them if I get around to it. And you sort of put those in just at the last moment, and if they're not too cold, like these are, then, in fact, you should be able to eat them. In fact, if you really would like to eat those, I'm sure you'll enjoy it. You'll have marvellous fun trying to get one of those into you. Right, here you are. Now, I'm going to try. This is going to be rather tricky for me. For you, it's going to be simple. For me, it's going to be tricky. In this one here, this is the one which is almost finished, and to which I'll... Now, you've got to go through a couple of processes with me, if you don't mind. First of all, this is a red pea. Now, it looks like a red bean to you, doesn't it? But they call them a pea there, you know. Slip out for a red pea, they say. And they're called beans in Trinidad and Tobago. But as you come up closer, it's more like a pea, all right? Something like a pea. These, however, there's absolutely no doubt whatsoever what these are. These are a couple of pig's tails, of which there are one to each pig that you find in Jamaica. And these are placed in, first of all, in here, and I'll tell you exactly what this is. You don't steep the beans or the peas first. No, no. You know, you can ferment things that way. No. If you want to ferment things, have some rum in it. This, in fact, is just simply pigtails chopped up, and into that the beans, and the whole thing is allowed to caress itself together. In with that, you throw some goat. Now, these are little tiny pieces of goat, and goat is actually rather nice. Now, I haven't got goat, I've just got little chopped pieces of beef. Then you also put some salt beef in. Now, that's a piece of salt beef, that. If you can see, it's a nice piece of beef. It's a piece of topside, it's salted, it's all right. And that's the only way that they could get beef, you know, in Jamaica. So that all makes sense so far. Does it make sense to you? Then it must make sense to everybody. All right. So having done that, you then put on 16 cups of water, and you cook it for 1 hour. And after 1 hour, you do the most extraordinary thing to it. You get 1 pound of this stuff. First prize for what this is. Would you mind passing that up, please? Pass it up. Thank you very much. I think you're right. That seems to have stopped it. Thank you very much for that. I think it's that one. Oh, that's all right. Now, when you get to a certain stage with these, never stir them hard. Because if anything's burning, and this is actually a very interesting point. Did you know this? If anything's burning, don't stir it. No, reduce the heat and keep the burnt stuff on the bottom. It's amazing, actually, how little burnt food transmits itself through food, as you will undoubtedly find. Right. I will return now to this. What is that? If you found that, you'd say that was an anthill, wouldn't you? Maybe a rhinoceros husk, in which case I'm not sharing it with anyone. This, as a matter of fact, is a yam. This, as a matter of fact, is a sweet potato, and that, as a matter of fact, is a cocoa. Right? Now, what does that look like when it isn't like that? Well, it looks like that, except that it's peeled. Right. Now, what you do is, here, for example, is a yam. Now, you keep a yam in water. If you don't keep your yam in water, you can get in trouble. You can get a dry yam. If you've got a dry yam, I'm sorry for you. Fine. Then you just simply take hold of this squashy stuff. Now, this is yam, and you can find your yam wherever you am. How about New Zealand? They haven't got yams in New Zealand. And then you just put this, you pop all this in. Oh, so that's all right. So look, see how viscous it is. Do you see? Do you see? I mean, can you see how viscous it is? It all runs. It's slimy. It's called ground provisions, and a yam is a very, very lovely thing. So you pop all that into there. You pop this in as well, because that's the cocoa. That's the cocoa. When the cocoa is peeled, the cocoa looks like that. So you put in a pound of cocoa and a pound of yam and a pound of sweet potato. Oh, there it is over there. Oh, it's everywhere. So then, when you've done all that, you then stir that in and you give it an hour. Look how I stir. And now you don't put any. I tell you what is used a lot is allspice. You don't use any in this soup. Now I put in here. In both of those, some of the tops of some scallions. Now, some powdered thyme. Use powdered thyme. Oh, I was about to tell you when I got disconcerted. I was disconcerted when I was about 13, actually, but this... You were disconcerted earlier, were you? I don't think you're disconcerted yet. Right. So then all you've got to do is you keep on... That's powdered thyme. No, as I was saying, as I was about... Because, you know, I always do return to the point. And that is that they use a lot of allspice. Thank you. They use it instead of bay leaves. And you know what that is now, don't you? That's Laurus nobilis, isn't it? But do you know do you know the term... Do you know the term for an allspice leaf? No. Neither do I. Do write in. This is Indian kale. Have you followed that up to there? So you stir all that in, you cook it for another hour. After which time it looks like that. I know it's a bit of a shame, but... Now, chop up your Indian kale into very fine pieces like that. They use practically always a thing called kalaloo. Kalaloo. You can hear it going across the, you know, the great divides. And it's sort of like spinach or puha. In fact, it's very much like puha and pork bones. I think it's kind of fascinating. This is kalaloo. You can buy this in a tin, marked kalaloo on the tin. I think it's very expensive. Well, it's about 29 cents a tin, mostly for the tin. It's great flavoursome tin. Well, I'll keep the tin afterwards. No, look at that, look. Now you see how green it's all going? Now that's the stage when you put in the other stuff. Now that is just cooked around, and that is the soup. That's how it is. Right, now I want to tell you how to make a spinner. What's that flour for? You can speak up. I know you've got a voice. You've got a healthy pair of lungs. Extra flour. Thanks, awfully. It's so difficult when you put the extra flour in when you should have put this in. How much is that? Excuse me a moment. I'll get round to this before we're through. You mix in 1 egg, 2½ ounces of both. Now, what's both, I can hear you say? That's butter and that's flour, all-purpose, general. And you mix it all around. Now, you get hold of an egg yolk, which usually lies in the middle of all that white. Here we go, and there's all that white's been left there. Now I've got to strain it off. One of the things you'll have to do as you're doing this is to... It's all right. That's my bent family heirloom. That's what you call bent. All right, there it is. Now, that's got egg white. What you've got to do is to bend a spoon and keep on skimming all the time. Whatever you do, skim, skim, all the time. Skim it all, put it into a pot, and that's the stuff you eat. You throw the rest away. Actually, it's a delicious soup. You can see how nice this one is, can't you, with all those lovely pig bones and things. I enjoyed it. Now you keep on smashing this up. Now, by this stage, you're beginning to wonder. And this is why you have the extra flour. That means there's ½ a minute to go. You only have to suffer for another 30 seconds. By the way, I put an onion in that. I find that helps. And a scallion as well. A scallion, if you're watching me in some rare, exotic land, is what the North Americans refer to or what is in reality, a spring onion. It's a funny thing to call it, isn't it? A spring onion is a scallion. There you are. That's a spinner. You get it in the palm of your hand and you dust it backwards and forwards like that. It's just a little loose thing like that. And you roll it. And you make yourself a lovely little spinner. Now, I like spinners about that size. Right? Isn't that beautiful? And actually, that's great and skillful. So, there's your... And you just drop those in there. It does help if you chill them off a little bit first. So I'll slosh all this up, and I'll be through there with my glass of wine for you in just a sec. That one's a bit charred. I'll take that home to the kids. You know, why shouldn't you know? I mean, just because you haven't got smelling vision. Can you smell a slightly charred smell? Yeah, it came up. You see, I scraped it before I thought. It's not as bad as it is on the bottom. Oh, you should see the bottom of the pot. Right, here we are. Now, this is something else. Now, when you've got a big belly full of that, you'll really know you've arrived. There are some people in Jamaica now who are still keeping the same pepper pot going, a great cast iron pot, for over 100 years. Can you imagine what it's like? 100 years. And it's just fantastic, really. I tasted one which was nearly 6 months old. And it had been going for 6 months. And can you get a good shot of my plate? Look at that. Hey, does it look nice? Does it? Oh, yeah. Oh, that's all right now. Because I always have to have a nod of approval from Stephen. I feel like belting out a steel drum and everything else, and it's warm, and you feel the humidity in the air, but the jungle-y sort of birds and the peacocks with their feathers sprayed up. Okay? Just a moment. I'll get somebody to eat with me. Thank you so much for being with me. God bless you. Few seconds. A moment. The camera's tight on your face.
It's the great moment.
The great moment has arrived.
Oh, that's lovely.
Eat up. Raise it to your tender, delicate lips. My God,
but she can't get it down.